And we are back for our daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. It is Sunday, December 8th, and we've got 5 best bets for you, of course, with this college basketball slate. And before we get into the predictions, folks, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily NBA and college basketball best bets here on the channel. Later today, we will have our NBA predictions, which we have got 12 games in the association today, so make sure you check out that video. That video is posted in an hour from now. Of course, daily college basketball best bets and NBA predictions coming to you on the channel. We have our NFL predictions that are also posted on the channel as well. The games start in a couple hours, so make sure to watch that video in the link down below. As well as make sure to go check out our 20,000 subscriber special video. That is linked in the comment section down below, the description down below. And again, with that video, there are instructions, and here they are right here. To enter the 20,000 subscriber giveaway, we are giving away $100, and it is absolutely free to enter the giveaway. All you have to do is subscribe on YouTube and follow at Greedo Plays YT on Instagram. That is the first link in the description down below. It is absolutely free to enter. We will draw a winner 6 days from today. Okay, let's get into our 5 best bets here for college basketball. And we start things off with another trip to Iona, or actually we got Iona on the road last game, but we're taking another Iona game and we are fading Iona. We're fading the Gales for the second straight game. Give me the St. Peter's Peacocks to win this basketball game. You might be familiar with St. Peter's. They were a team that was in the Elite 8. Oh God, was it 2019? I think it was 19, or was it 18? It was 19. I think it was 19, where St. Peter's was in the Elite 8. This is a team that started the season 0-3, losses to Seton Hall by 4 points. I get it, the Pirates aren't that great, but only losing to Seton Hall by 4 points. A loss to UMass Lowell, who just beat UMass yesterday, but not a great team. They lost that game by 7 points. Lost to Rutgers by 10, but then 4 straight victories over UMBC, St. Elizabeth, at Fairleigh Dickinson, and then a win on the road at Duquesne. They are coming off a home loss, though, to Manhattan. But this is partially, again, we're taking St. Peter's because of the way they played this season. But additionally, Iona is not that great. Iona's 2-8. We took Sacred Heart to beat them in their last game. I think Sacred Heart I think that game was even, give or take. I think it was like a -2.5, -1.5 spread for Sacred Heart. And Sacred Heart wins the basketball game by about 30 points. It was not a competitive basketball game, more like 25. But Sacred Heart completely ran through Iona in that basketball game. And for the Gales, again, this is a 2-8 team this season. Their wins are Tarleton State and Vermont. Other than that, they have not won a game this year. Sure, they've played close games. We went over this before the Sacred Heart game. They do play some close games. Again, played Princeton close. They played Indiana State close. They played Rice close. That's fair. That's fine. But after watching them play that Sacred Heart game, I would not be confident in Iona to win literally anything. They're a one-man squad. It's DeJour Reeves. Sure, again, they're going to get some production out of Adam Najee, I believe is his name, and James Patterson. They're going to get, again, production out their other guys, but primarily it's going to be Reeves leading the charge offensively. And for the St. Peter's Peacock squad, you're going to get Marcus Randolph, who's leading their team in points with 14.5. You've got Armani Ziegler as well, as averaging 13. Bryce Eden, and then you got the big man in Stephen Roberts, who's, playing big minutes, playing 23 minutes a night, averaging 5.5 points, but also averaging those 9 rebounds a game as well. I like St. Peter's. I think they're the better basketball team. I get it, they're on the road, but I mean, does Iona really have a crazy crowd going on here at home? I don't anticipate that to happen over here in New Rochelle, New York. I don't think, again, the New Rochelle faithful is going to be coming through here for Iona. This is a conference game in the MAAC. But again, I just don't think Iona is that great. This is a school that's 2-8 this season, and they've lost, again, time in and time out at home this year as well. They've lost games to, teams that I would say are about the same level as St. Peter's. We're talking about teams like Delaware, Cornell. Cornell's probably better than St. Peter's, but still, Hofstra beat them by 14 points. Again, the game was at Hofstra, but I really don't think the location of this game matters. Again, this is not a power, this is not a Big 10 game. This is not a Big 12 game. This is not an SEC game where home court really matters. It's just strictly a travel thing. And St. Peter's is where? New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken. I believe St. Peter's is in New Jersey. I could be wrong, but I think it's it Trenton? I think it's Trenton, New Jersey. I can check real quick, but it's not that far of a trip for St. Peter's. They're literally right there. There's going to be no crowd advantage. I don't think Iona gets popping like that on a Sunday at 1 o'clock. People are going to be watching the Jets and the Giants on TV. Actually, I don't know if you want to watch the Jets and the Giants right now. I mean, I think the Dolphins cover that spread. I don't know. Regardless, St. Peter's got to be in New Jersey, right? I've been trying to find it. Yeah, it's in Jersey City. Okay, exactly. It's not a far trip. St. Peter's is right there. I think they do go into Iona and win the basketball game again. Iona's a 2-8 squad this year. St. Peter's is 4-4. Sure, they lost their last game to Manhattan, but they had strung together 4 in a row prior to that. St. Peter's, again, has shown capability of winning on the road this season. 3 of their wins are on the road. They've only played 1 home game really this season, and it's against Manhattan. They lost that game, but they've picked up road wins so far this season against UMBC, against FDU, against Duquesne. They've shown capability of pulling through in those games. I think they'll do it against the Iona Gales. We have, again, faded the Gales earlier this week, and we're going to do it again. Give me St. Peter's to go on the road and beat Iona. Next up, we go to South Alabama at home against the Gamecocks of Jacksonville State. We are taking, again, South Alabama at home in Mobile, South Alabama. They are 3.5-point favorites, and we're going to be taking them to cover that line and taking them to win the game outright as well. This is, again, a combination of we like South Alabama in this spot. I think South Alabama is one of the better teams in the Sun Belt this season. I don't know if they are the best squad, but they've been playing decent basketball this year. At points, they were competitive against Ole Miss for a little bit. You know, they lost Central Michigan by 4 points, lost to West Illinois by 1 point at home. That's a game they're supposed to win, but still, South Alabama hasn't been bad this season. And for Jacksonville State, they are banned. Okay, we don't have many teams on the Greedo Plays ban list. My goodness, English. But there is Jacksonville State right here. They're the 3rd team on the ban list. Again, the New Orleans Pelicans might be working their way off this. I'm not gonna lie. High Point. Maybe them too. I don't know. Regardless, Jacksonville State's currently banned, okay? We bet them earlier in the season in the Air Force game, and that game has not aged well for Jacksonville State as well. Air Force has not been playing any better basketball. Air Force, again, beats Jacksonville State, and right away, they lose to Long Island University. Jacksonville State, they've been better. Sure, they're 5-3. They beat Georgia State, didn't cover. We took Georgia State in that game. They beat Coastal. They beat East Carolina. But then back-to-back losses to Toledo and James Madison. They just beat Columbia International. That doesn't mean anything. And now here we are. Okay. Again, South Alabama's a 5-3 team this season. Jacksonville State is taking on another Sun Belt team here. Obviously, they've already played Coastal. East Carolina is in the CUS. No, not CUSA. They're in the American. But still, they've played, again, a Sun Belt team before this season. They played Coastal. They went to Coastal, and they did win that game. They played JMU. JMU, obviously, not in Sun Belt either. But still, I think South Alabama should be fine in this game. Again, I don't think Coastal's as good as South Alabama. Coastal's a team this season that's 4-5. Again, I think when these two teams play in the Sun Belt, I do think against South Alabama will get them. Coastal lost to Alabama A&M this year. That's really all you need to hear. Again, if you're losing to a team like Alabama A&M, we cannot take you seriously. So I think it's fine. Again, Jacksonville State's already beat a Sun Belt team this season. I just think South Alabama is much better than Coastal Carolina. And, South Alabama got by Alcorn in their last game by 9 points. It's not really all that impressive. But they got their leading scorer in Miles Corey. This is a guy who's averaging 19 points a game this season. He is a senior point guard for them. It was a guy who was where was he before South Alabama? I'm not completely sure, I'll be honest. Where was he? He was at Jesup University. This is a guy last season who I believe averaged big numbers for them. Jesup's at NIAA, if I'm not mistaken, I think. He was averaging 17 points last year, though, for Jesup. Now here he is at South Alabama, and he's been their best player all year. Again, 6-foot point guard out of Ontario, California. Averaging 19.5 points a game, playing great this season. Judah Brown's also averaging 11. Barry Dunning Jr. is playing well as well. And then you got their big as well in John Broome, who's averaging big minutes for them. He is their second leading minutes guy. He's getting 30 minutes a game compared to Miles Corey's 35. But both those guys, again, going to play big minutes. Miles Corey, though, really does it everything. Leads their team in points, leads their team in assists, also leads the team in steals as well. Broome and Judah Brown are the two bigs, though, that are going to lock things down for the South Alabama Jaguars. And for Jacksonville State, again, this team they have big stretches where they just can't get it done and can't shoot. This entire team, though, for the most part, is Jaron Pierre. And the thing with Jaron Pierre is I've watched Jacksonville State a couple times this season. Jaron Pierre is incredibly inconsistent. He just is. I watched the Toledo game a couple weeks ago. He will hit his shots, but he will also go through his stretches where he just can't do anything. And Jaron Pierre, again, he averages big points, but Jaron Pierre takes a bunch of shots as well, right? They trust in Jaron Pierre, so they put the ball in his hands a lot. But there are some games, and again, I'm not going to completely hate on the guy. I think he's a good basketball player, obviously. But there are just games where he just takes a million shots, and that's why he gets so many points up. Like the Toledo game and the JMU games are the ones that do stick out. He just shot the ball a crap ton in that. The JMU game, I mean, he shot 12% from beyond the arc in that basketball game, but still scored 24 points because he put up a million shots. Again, they trust in Jaron Pierre. He is going to be the guy they run the offense through. But there are games where Jaron Pierre just doesn't really show up. Now, his last game against who they played, Columbia International, he was great. Scored 30 points, shot the ball to 60% clip, 66% from beyond the arc. Again, that's a good game out of Jaron Pierre. But when he's not going, the rest of the team just falls apart as well. I'm relying on South Alabama's ability to be able to shut Jaron Pierre down. Again, he is everything for this Gamecock squad, and when he is not on, the rest of the team falls apart. I do think South Alabama is able to find a solution, and I do think they beat Jacksonville State in this basketball game at home in Alabama. Give me the Jaguars to win this basketball game and to cover the 3.5 points as well. Next up, we move on to a big game. We go to Austin, Texas for the Texas Longhorns at home against the Yukon Huskies. And guys, we are taking the Huskies to go on the road and beat Texas. Yep, I know. But after watching Yukon play Baylor, I feel fine. And Dan Hurley's guys, I know he's a psychopath, but I feel okay with Yukon winning this basketball game. I know. They had the horrible Maui. They lost their 3 games over there. But it's different, man. It's different. I truly believe it. This is still the same team that's won back-to-back national championships. I understand the same guys are not still around. I understand, again, there is no Donovan Clingan anymore. Stephon Castle's not around. I understand that. I get it. Tristan Newton's not back either. I completely understand that. But still, hear me out. I think they're a lot better when they're playing these home and homes. Like Dan Hurley has said. He has said before, again, he said this a couple weeks ago or last week, he's done playing those 3-game tournaments, where they play back-to-back games. They're just doing home and homes now. For Texas, I get it. I know why they're the favorites in this game. It's because of the way Yukon plays, and you look at Texas's record, they're 7-1. They haven't really beat anybody that impressive yet. They lost their first game in their opener to Ohio State. Not a bad loss, but yet again, Ohio State just got blown out in their Big Ten opener against Maryland. They beat Houston Christian. They beat Chicago State. They beat Mississippi Valley State. They beat Syracuse. They beat St. Joseph's. They beat Delaware State, and they go on the road to Raleigh and beat North Carolina State. Again, not a bad loss, a Final Four team last season, but I keep saying it again. This NC State team this year is not the same team that we got last year at DJ Burns and company, right? They're not the same team. They're not bad, but they're not the same level that they were last year. Obviously, again, the ACC champions in the tournament, obviously. We're talking about the Wolfpack. Texas, again, not a bad team, led by Trey Johnson. I just think UConn's better. Okay, again, I understand it. They had a horrible Maui, but what have they done since? I get it, Baylor has not been the team that we thought they were going to be this season. You know, they've got 3 losses already, but think about it. Who are Baylor's losses this year? Gonzaga, Tennessee, and UConn. And I get it. Gonzaga looked horrible in Seattle yesterday against Kentucky. It is what it is. It happens. But still, Baylor's only lost to good teams. And they beat St. John's this season, right? They beat Arkansas this year, and Arkansas has been okay. I get it. But still, Baylor is not that bad, and it's a good win for UConn. A game they were obviously supposed to win at home, but they took care of business. Their first huge game again after that collapse that happened in Maui. And again, for as bad as it was, Memphis was a close game, Colorado was a close game, and by the time they got to Wednesday where they played Dayton, everyone was checked out. They wanted to leave. They lost the game by 18 points. I think UConn's fine here, guys. I think this is I think we can still buy low on the Huskies here. People are still down on them because, again, they got that national attention by losing 3 straight games. Look at Texas and the way they've been playing this season. I'm not that impressed. I get it, again, we're taking UConn to go on the road and win this game, but I think they're going to be fine. Give me Dan Hurley's guys. Give me the UConn Huskies to go on the road to the Moody Center and to take down the Texas Longhorns. They are underdogs, so you can take the points. You can take the money line. I like plus 105. The UConn Huskies go on the road and beat the Texas Longhorns. Next up, we go to some ACC play. We have got the Louisville Cardinals at home against the Duke Blue Devils in the KFC Yum Arena. I get it, Louisville has not done us the best recently, but we are taking them again. Plus 9.5 is too many points for Louisville in this conference game against Duke. I expect the Blue Devils to win, okay? That goes without saying. I expect Duke to beat Louisville, but I do not expect them to cover the spread, okay? I think it's too many points. I think it's too many points for Duke playing their first ACC game all season and they start on the road as well. I think it's an incredibly difficult spot. Duke always has games in the ACC where they kind of just mess up, and I want to take, that was a weird way of putting it. I was just going to talk about their game last year against Georgia Tech. Their first game in ACC play last year, they go on the road and they lose at Georgia Tech. I'm not saying Louisville's going to beat them, but they got to go on the road to the KFC Yum Arena, KFC Yum Center in Louisville, Kentucky, and I do think the Cardinals stay in the basketball game. I get it, the hype has kind of died down on Louisville, right? They were getting a bunch of respect, obviously, in their tournament that they played over Thanksgiving, right? They beat Indiana and beat the crap out of the Hoosiers. They beat West Virginia. Chucky Hepburn has that big game. And then they lose to Oklahoma, and they get absolutely just mailing at home against the Ole Miss Rebels. I get that. This team is very reliant on Chucky Hepburn, not to the point where where Chucky Hepburn has to do everything, but they need Chucky Hepburn to have not a big game, but a good game for the rest of the team to kind of just rally around him, right? They're not dependent on Chucky Hepburn, but for them to be successful, they need him to win. So I just contradicted myself. They need Chucky Hepburn to have a big game, at least to stay close against Duke. Now, I haven't really talked much about Cooper Flagg yet this year, like in depth about Cooper Flagg. I think he's a good player. The generational talk, though, about Cooper Flagg, I don't know. Going into the season, I think I hadn't heard that much about a collegiate player being a generational product. Obviously, Victor Wembanyama, but he didn't play, obviously, college basketball. So I hadn't heard this much about a collegiate player probably since Zion Williamson, in terms of like, oh, this guy's going to be legit once he comes to the league. He's going to change the league. He's generational. I'll be honest, I don't see it. Maybe, again, we're just starting ACC play, but through 8 games, Cooper Flagg's good. Is he going to be an NBA player? 100%. Is he going to be a top 5 pick? 100%. Is he generational? Is he going to be the number one pick? Probably. But is he a generational type guy? I don't see it. He's a guy that's struggling to shoot right now. Again, some games he has huge turnover nights. And I get it again. He is their best player. He's averaging 17, 9, and 4. But I'm just being critical of a guy who's supposed to be a generational player. I'm not saying Cooper Flagg is bad at all. I think he's going to be a good NBA player. Do I think he's going to be a generational type guy, though? I don't really see it right now. Again, Duke has a phenomenal team. They have a phenomenal team. They proved me wrong in the Auburn game, right? Cooper Flagg had a good game, right? Dropped 22 points. The star of that game, and everyone knows it was Isaiah Evans. He hit 6 shots that game. They're all 3-pointers. Right? Isaiah Evans off the bench, got the biggest minutes he's gotten all season, hit 6 threes. I assume Isaiah Evans is still going to come off the bench because who do you replace in that starting lineup? But that's a huge factor, and that's a huge, addition, I would say, at least, to what Louisville's going to have to deal with in this basketball game. Again, I think Duke going on the road, first ACC game, I think it's going to be a lot closer than them winning by double digits. I still think Duke wins, but I think they're in for a dogfight. Again, I think you see a good effort tonight out of Chucky Hepburn, out of Kayshawn Pryor, out of Terrence Edwards, and this Louisville squad. I think they stay in the basketball game, out of Rain Smith as well. I think they're able to stay in it, but I do think Duke wins. It's going to be Louisville to cover the 9.5 points, but we are taking Duke to win the basketball game. As we go on to our final game, we go to the Big Ten. I know I said I was going to stay away from the Big Ten a little bit, but UCLA and Oregon. Okay, I think Oregon's got to cover this line, right? I think. Oregon was confusing at the beginning of the season. I understand that. But it feels like they're really getting it together. Watching that second half of the USC game, it feels like Oregon kind of has it together right now. They're the only undefeated team left in the Big Ten, at least towards, in terms of their entire record. Obviously, there are still a handful of teams that are undefeated in conference, right? But someone's always got to go, at least in terms of conference play here, between the Bruins and the Ducks. And I think it would be the Bruins taking their first L of the season. Again, Oregon's a 9-0 team this season, right? I was never really impressed with Oregon until I watched the Alabama game. Okay. And then I saw the USC game. They go into halftime down by 8 points. They win the game by 8 points. And again, was that at the time, and as of yesterday, I was like, oh, USC's just not that great. No, I saw USC go into Seattle and dominate the University of Washington and absolutely blow them out. Bad read on my end. I didn't see it happening. But if anything, that just kind of shows to me how good Oregon is then. So we're going to parlay that into just saying Oregon's going to blow out UCLA here. I don't know about a blowout, but I think they take care of business at home. I think they do. Oregon's the better team. They're playing good basketball this season. They don't, again, I don't think Oregon's got one guy that you can just point at and be like, all right, this is their big star. I don't think you can say that. But they just have a bunch of guys who get their job done, right? Everyone does their job in this Oregon team. For UCLA, again, I don't know what to say about UCLA. Like, Sebastian Mack is back, obviously. He was one of their primary guys last season. He's not having a bad year by any stretch of the imagination. And UCLA's been good, 7-1, right? The only loss was the second game of the year against New Mexico, who lost to New Mexico State yesterday, as 20-point favorites. They lost to the Aggies of New Mexico State. What is going on? New Mexico's been disappointing this year. They have. I get they beat USC. They lost to Arizona State, but they barely beat San Jose State, didn't cover that game, and then lose to New Mexico State. I mean, what is going on? I don't know. The Lobos should probably be fine, but it's weird. UCLA this season, though, again, only lost to New Mexico. Their wins, nothing impressive yet, though. Let's be honest. And watching UW play USC yesterday, UCLA's win over Washington isn't all the most impressive either now. I'll just be honest with you. Their wins are Rider, Boston University, Lee, Idaho State, Cal State Fullerton, Southern Utah, UW. I think Oregon wins. They're playing better basketball this season. They're the only undefeated team left in the Big Ten, and I think they remain that way. Give me the Oregon Ducks. They are 9-0. They go to 10-0. They're the better team, and additionally, this game is in Eugene, Oregon, so that's why we have them covering the 3.5 points as well. Give me the Ducks to take care of the Bruins at home. We like Oregon to win against the UCLA Bruins, and we like them to cover the 3.5 points as well. And folks, that'll do it for our 5 best bets here for college basketball here on December 8th. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.